Many prominent atheists say fine-tuning is the best argument for the existence of God. But why? What is fine-tuning, and why has it persuaded so many skeptics? A simple way to understand fine-tuning is to imagine a device which we'll call the universe generator. This machine contains a vast number of dials, each of which can be adjusted to a nearly infinite number of different settings. Each of these controls represents a physical characteristic of our universe. As we experiment with different settings, we find that it is virtually impossible to adjust each of the dials so as to produce a universe like ours. Regardless of which combinations we try, we can't seem to get planets, galaxies, or even basic chemistry. Only when the dials are extremely finely tuned do we see the correct conditions which allow for the existence of a universe like ours. But the question is, are these finely tuned constants of nature designed or just by chance? It comes down to a matter of probabilities. Say your friend proposes a bet. He thinks he can flip a coin and have it land on heads 5 times in a row. You happily agree, but your friend goes on to beat the odds and win the bet. What are the chances, you ask yourself? Statistically speaking, there was only about a 3% chance of him pulling off this unlikely feat. While you're not happy, you simply attribute the loss to bad luck. Now imagine a similar situation, but your friend bets he can flip heads 50 times consecutively. You very quickly agree, but your friend goes on to win the bet again. After doing the math, you calculate that the odds of flipping heads 50 times in a row is not 1 chance in a million, or even 1 chance in a billion, but rather about 1 chance in 10 to the 15th power. At this point, you start to suspect some foul play. The same is true when we look out into the universe. Some things we can reasonably attribute to blind chance. Others, however, seem better explained by design. Theoretical physicist Paul Davies says, "Scientists are slowly waking up to an inconvenient truth. The universe looks suspiciously like a fix. The fact remains that the universe seems unreasonably suited to the existence of life, almost contrived. You might say a put-up job. So where do we draw the line between chance and design? Let's look at some examples. This is Newton's law of universal gravitation. In it, we find the variable g, which represents the gravitational constant. This value describes the strength of gravity, and it holds true anywhere in the universe. You may be surprised to find out that the strength of gravity is fine-tuned to 1 part in 10 to the 40th power. If it's too weak, gravity would not be strong enough to form galaxies, stars, or planets. If it were too strong, the universe would collapse in on itself before it ever began. Numbers this big can be hard to wrap our minds around. Just how precise is 1 part in 10 to the 40th power? Imagine this number represents the strength of gravity, ending in a 1. If it were any weaker, the universe would cease to exist. And if it were any more powerful, say ending in a 2, the universe would likewise cease to exist. Another way to visualize it comes from astrophysicist Hugh Ross. Picture the distance between the Earth and the Moon. The true distance between the two may come as a surprise when we see it to scale. Now imagine covering the entire surface of North America in dimes. Not only are we covering the entire surface of the continent, but we're also stacking them on top of one another to the Moon. And we're not stopping there. Take this immense collection of dimes and recreate this stack 1 billion times over. Now, take a single red dime and hide it somewhere in the mix among all the trillions and trillions of dimes. The odds of blindly selecting the red dime amongst all the others on your first try is about 1 chance in 10 to the 37th power. Gravity has been finely tuned for the existence of life to 1 part in 10 to the 40th power. Is the evidence better explained by chance or intelligence? We know that gravity is unimaginably fine-tuned, but is this even the most impressive example of fine-tuning? Over 140 fine-tuned characteristics of the universe have been discovered so far. The laws of science, as we know them at present, contain many fundamental numbers. The remarkable fact is that the values of these numbers seem to have been very finely adjusted to make possible the development of life. The more I examine the universe and study the details of its architecture, the more evidence I find that the universe in some sense must have known that we were coming. A common sense interpretation of the facts suggests that a super intellect has monkeyed with physics. The numbers one calculates from the facts seem to me so overwhelming as to put this conclusion almost beyond question. Antony Flew was a public defender of atheism for decades. That is until he came across the fine-tuning of the universe. I now believe that the universe was brought into existence by an infinite intelligence. I believe that this universe's intricate laws manifest what scientists have called the mind of God. Why do I believe this, given that I expounded and defended atheism for more than half a century? The short answer is this. This is the world picture, as I see it, that has emerged from modern science.